Hey y'all, this is Shane. I'm just on here to give a couple stories, try and catch your attention. I first got started into this work after I got out of high school, and the opportunity was there, but I was still in a place of trying to find out who I was. Um, and so I had a lot of judgment on myself in stepping into this realm of energy healing, going in and sitting with the darkness. I also, really struggled with alcohol at that time, um, not really realizing that the only reason I was drinking so much was to bury the emotions, the feelings. So I didn't have to feel the shame, the guilt, the sadness, the fear, the lack that I had in myself. But as I continued to embrace this journey of who I was in order to love all parts of myself, all parts of me, it really helped me to open up my eyes so that I could become more self aware, so that I could raise my frequency, raise my self worth, raise everything. I mean, it took all I had to cut out the alcohol, to stop hanging out with those people that were not supporting where I desired to go. They, and I mean, the hardest part was, once you stop hanging out with those types of people, they, they basically say you've changed. They say, why don't, why don't you come out and have drinks and do all this stuff anymore? Why are you so, why are you being rude? And I was just like, yeah, it's just not suitable for me right now. It's not where I want to go. I was realizing that I was stuck. My mental health was not that great. I was thinking of all these scenarios, not realizing that all these things that I was thinking of putting onto other people was just a reflection of myself. And, one of the best things, that I think happened is I knew I was on the right path, because all of my so-called friends, they weren't actually supporting me. I was giving all my energy to them, not realizing that I was giving away my power. I wasn't even able to stay in the present moment. I was living in the past, living in the future. Worry, 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 worry. I had anxiety. I felt lack. I felt fear. And as you continue to take these small actions and loving yourself, taking the time to get out of the masculine energy every once in a while and step into that feminine side in you, which is that creative, beautiful part. A lot of us are in that survival mode. And so it's getting our body to feel calm and building that trust within, but also having this level of self-awareness where you can ask yourself those hard questions. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? And if you get down to the root cause, because a lot of things tend to happen when we're growing up. People put on their belief systems, they put on their programs. And so subconsciously, we don't know that because we're so young, it gets thrown onto us. And then all of a sudden, we forget who we truly are. Lula and I help you to remember who you are so that you can love all parts of who you are. When I was born without a soft spot. So I was 3 months old. I had to go in for, it's called premature skull closure. I had to go in and have the surgery. See, I have a scar here and I have a scar here, and what they did, they took out a chunk of my skull so that I could have a soft spot, because without that soft spot, it doesn't allow your brain to grow, and so your skull doesn't expand. But my whole life growing up, I was always self-conscious about it. I was always trying to hide it. um, I remember one time my mom cut my hair too short and I would not go to school, because I was petrified of what everyone was going to think. And, I struggled with this for a very long time. I think that's one of the reasons why I picked up alcohol. And, but as I grew older, I realized people aren't really judging. I mean, they're judging you, but they're really just judging themselves when they do judge you. It's releasing all of these things, all of these fears. Anytime that you feel lack, you feel fear, you feel like you're not worth it, that's just a wound that needs to be healed. That's an old paragram, an old belief, an old story that you get to tell yourself. A lot of us were running around unconscious, not even realizing that we are unconscious. And that's how we pass things down, because we think we're doing our best, but realizing it takes more energy to be conscious than it does to be unconscious. It's like, an example is, I could sit on the couch and watch TV, or I could get off my butt and go for a walk. I could go to the gym. It's just more work. I'm in the process of writing a book too, and it's bringing up a whole another just another layer, realizing that I'm not quite at the frequency where I want to be at. It's almost like I'm at, an example would be, I was at 100.3. Now I'm at 100.4, and I'm trying to get to 100.5. So I'm in like this cocoon phase, and it's really blossoming, and I'm about ready to jump. I am there. I'm helping people to see who they are. Lula's helping people to see who they are. It's just loving all parts of you. I mean, this journey's never ending. My whole life I was taught to go follow the crowd, and that's what I've done. But during this work on myself, I'm realizing that now I get to go left. That I have a choice to go left. I have a choice to prioritize myself, to love myself for who I am, to love all parts of me. And that's what connects you to that infinite nature of who you are. That's what attracts everything, is when you're in the present moment. And I mean, the work is, you have to ask yourself those hard questions. You have to go sit in the closet. You have to release these stored emotions, those stored energies that are holding you back. And you have to just be better than you were yesterday. Just try, and go for it. Just go for it. If there's a fear, if there's a feeling of lack, if there's a feeling of guilt, shame, anything, that just means there's a wound that needs to be healed, that was placed onto you. Maybe it was something you did in the past, but for some reason your subconscious is holding on to that because you don't feel safe. If you ever get anxiety, it's because you're living in the future and you're not walking in the present moment where you can create. Your consciousness, it's powerful. Listen to your intuition. It's like, everything has this divine light running through it, but it's like, just like the caterpillar. The caterpillar didn't have to go to school, didn't have to go to college to recognize that it could turn into a butterfly. It just had to sit in that in between stage. I like to call it the void of transformation. Everything in this universe is trying to get you to this threshold to evolve into who you're supposed to be. A lot of things, when you're out of alignment with where you're supposed to go, it's going to bring in chaos. It's going to bring in all these crazy things to get you back into alignment with where you're supposed to go. A lot of people, they don't recognize that they have the choice. You have this victim mindset. And now we get to have the courage to really dive deep into who we are, to get out of that victim mindset. Recognize that you have a choice to thrive. You have a choice to have all these things that you've ever desired in your life. What's holding you back? Step into who you are. Reach out to Lula and myself. Schedule a session. This work is transformational. It's huge. As long as you are willing to do the work and Be who you are. Love yourself unconditionally. Take those small steps forward every single day. You can change your life. The ego, the mind, everything likes to keep you small so you don't move and shift. Everything starts within you. Take the challenge, be yourself, and take a step forward. I mean, if this really resonates with you, why not give it a chance? What's the worst that could happen? You change your life for a little bit, but you change your life for a little bit, and that's just going to give you the momentum to keep going. It all starts with you. And if you're hearing this video, you didn't see this video by accident. You know, we all have a darkness, but we all get to embrace it too. That's what makes your light shine. And, if somebody thinks that, you know, you're full of this ego, you're full of all this pride, it's not. It's because you sat in that darkness, you dealt with everything that you felt lacking, that you felt fear in. And now you're taking the steps forward for you and for your family. But mainly it's for you to recognize that, again, that infinite nature of who you are. So keep turning left, keep being yourself, and keep loving yourself. It's time. I mean, the whole world's waking up right now. It's a massive conscious effect right now. The world, us, always know that things crumble so that they can get better. And that's you just building your foundation of love. You got to start somewhere, allow it to crumble, and bring the pieces back with that love for yourself, the love of who you are. Thank you all for listening. And yeah, be you. And also, you know, when I was talking about, yeah, me having that soft spot, that's the only thing that saved me from my motorcycle wreck in 2016. I broke both legs, fractured my skull, lacerated kidney, lost 4 quarts of blood. I wasn't wearing a helmet. I woke up a week later out of my coma. My femur bone was sticking out. My tibia bone was sticking out. My wife was 6 months pregnant. But if wouldn't have had that surgery, I would have died from blunt force trauma to the head. So, I mean, I had this one coach tell me, when spirit or the higher power, whatever you desire to call it, that universal energy is trying to talk to you, the first time, it's like a feather. The second time, it's like a two by four just hit you in the face. And the third time, it's the Mack truck. So let's not make it to the Mack truck, guys. Let's make it to just a feather. Listen to your calling. Listen to your heart. That's your connection to your intuition. Your heart knows. Find that feeling of being safe in who you are. Release those stored energies, those stored emotions. Release anything that is not you and just be you. Because that's when your life changes. That's when your self-worth changes and you walk in that abundant energy in which attracts everything. It starts with you. It all starts with you. Much love to all of you. Thank you for listening and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Much love.